All right, it is day 21 of me picking an album from this filter, working out to it, and giving my thoughts on it. This is a series I've been doing called Muscle Music, and I only do albums I've never listened to before. I already did a full episode on Public Enemy's It Takes a Nation of Millions. Great album, really fantastic release. Amy Winehouse, Back to Black, okay. All right, we're back from the gym. We did cardio today, and here are my thoughts on Back to Black by Amy Winehouse. If you're unaware of the story of Amy Winehouse, it's incredibly tragic. She began her career in the early 2000s doing soul and R&B revival music, and this album came out in 2006 and was her biggest album. The main single off of this was Rehab, if you're familiar with that track. But unfortunately, she did pass away in 2011 due to alcohol poisoning, which makes a lot of the, lyrical concepts of this album much more macabre to listen back to. But yeah, a lot of the production on this is soul and R&B inspired. It's very much in the style of like 60s pop and soul groups that were more like girl-led groups at the time. And while I think the production on this mostly is pretty decent, I think it inadvertently led to a lot of copycats trying to bring this sound back into like the mainstream. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is like Meghan Trainor, and I know she kind of gets a lot of shit from music dorks like me, but I think for the most part it works on this. However, I think what saves this album for me is the lyrical aspect of it. I think she just has a beautiful pen game on this across pretty much all the tracks. I mentioned Rehab before, but I think one of the shining examples of that is the track Back to Black, the title track off of this. You know, her, the entire idea is her breaking up with her ex-boyfriend, who I think she later got back with anyway. But, the theme of going back to black, like going back down this dark path of substance abuse and alcoholism, it's incredibly dark and very compelling. She goes through so much grief, so much trauma, all this guilt that she has. It's really interesting to kind of get this darker side of her. Again, the hardest thing for me to kind of swallow on this album is the production. I think specifically on the track Tears Dry on Her Own, it just sounds like a down-tuned, depressed version of Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Especially that intro, it just sounds so, I can't get out of my head. But yeah, my favorite tracks have to go to Me and Mr. Jones, Just Friends, as well as Back to Black. But yeah, rest in peace. Obviously, the story of her career is very tragic. But in terms of this album, I wasn't incredibly head over heels about it, but it was still very compelling. In terms of a rating, I'm probably going to have to give it a mid to high 7. I think that's right about where I'm sitting for this one. Like and follow for more unless this app gets banned. Goodbye.